Hello, everyone. Good evening. To those of you tuning in on the NPNA channels, Value Our Families channels, HICA channels, welcome to today's Facebook Live. The immigration service fees might be going up. So here in this Facebook Live, we'll be covering what you need to know. So tag anybody below in the comments to make sure that they tune in if they are going to be applying for an immigration benefit this year. So let's get started. Welcome everybody tuning in. So to give a little bit of context on our conversation here, on January 4th, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, also known as USCIS, released a proposed rule that, if implemented, will increase certain immigration application fees. This would include naturalization, family-sponsored and employment visas, and among other immigration benefits. So we at the National Partnership for New Americans here at NPNA, we strongly urge the Biden administration to reject the proposed regulation. We know that if it goes into effect, it will disproportionately affect low-income immigrants and working class communities who are seeking these immigration benefits, and for many of which the current fee structure is already inaccessible. And for us at NPNA, this has been a really important issue because since our inception, we've worked toward increasing the access to existing immigration benefits. And we know that this would be an inhibitor, right, for folks to access those benefits. And since the beginning of the year, and actually since last year, we've been working since the beginning to strengthen the capacity of our member organizations. We are now at 61 members across the country, reaching in 40 states. And in the last few weeks, we've teamed up with advocates like Unidos.us, Immigration Legal Resource Center, ILRC, Chirla, and One America to launch a landing page, which you can see linked below right now, where you can find helpful resources. If you're an advocate, if you care about this issue, or if you know somebody who will be applying for an immigration benefit, or you yourself will be, this is a great resource to help us advocate against these fee increases. And last week, we began a collaboration with Value Our Families, a campaign that exists to protect, preserve, and strengthen the family immigration system and promote an immigration system that is informed by love, empathy, and justice, comprised of 70 state and national organizations. And we are so excited to continue our partnership with Value Our Families, which is this collaboration is presenting today's conversation. Last week, we hosted a webinar for advocates, and today we're talking to you, the community, and want to answer your questions. We've been getting a lot of these, so just wanted to really create this space where we're answering questions and you hear from experts in the field. So without further ado, I want to introduce our panelists. Marilena Frias, she is the program manager for Citizenship and Immigration Program at the Hispanic Interest Coalition of Alabama. Marilena, welcome. Our next guest is Cristina Uribe Reyes. She is an immigration attorney at Uribe Reyes Law, based out of Denver, Colorado. Welcome, Cristina. So at this time, I want to get the conversation going. We've been getting many questions from the community and wanted to begin the conversation here with some of the top questions that we've been getting. So the first question, I will turn it over to you, Cristina. So let's talk about this proposed rule. What are the most significant fee changes in the proposed rule? Who would be affected by this? And what are you seeing as an immigration lawyer and how this would affect your day-to-day work?
Of course. Well, I think looking at the proposed rule change, some of the most significant changes are coming to family petitions or petitions that are filed by family members. Also waivers. There's one particular waiver, for example, that's going up by 55%, and that's for people that have to get their green card outside of the country. We're talking a difference of, it's now currently $715, and that would be increasing to $1,105. But one of the other significant changes is to work permit applications with a 59% increase, going from moment, I just had it right here. We're talking about, it's currently at Oh gosh, I literally had it. I will come back to that one. But the new proposed change would be for it to go up to $630. So this is a significant change, especially for people that have to renew their work permit every year or every 2 years. And then I think one of the biggest ones that will affect a lot of people. One of the changes that's being made is to children that are applying for green cards. Before, if the child was under 14, they would have to pay less of a fee of a $750. That's going away, and so we're going to see an increase in that of 105%. And then for people that used to be able to apply for, or are right now applying for a combination of a green card, a travel document, and a work permit, the current fee for that is $1,225. That would be going up to $2,820. So it's a 130% increase in that.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. And those are really, really significant increases. I know that for a lot of families, even saving $1,000 to start their process is a lot. So now doubling that, and in some cases, we know that families are petitioning for more than one family member at a time. So thank you for those top lines and just giving us a little bit more detail about what the rule is proposing. Right at this point, want to emphasize this is a proposal, right? It has not gone into effect, and there is still time, right, to halt it, and we'll be giving you some ways that you can help us advocate against this increase. Want to keep it going here. Next question, I want to turn it over to Maria Elena at HICA. So two-part question here for you. Can you tell the folks listening in, maybe we have some folks tuning in from Alabama, what services do you offer at HICA? And also want to get your perspective as a legal service provider at an immigrant rights organization. How do you see that the fee increases affect legal services and communities across the country? I'll turn over to you, Maria Elena.
Sure, thank you. So it's a nonprofit, and we're located in Birmingham, Alabama, and we do a lot of things. We have several programs, so we help a lot with victims of domestic violence or certain crimes, accompaniment to court. We also help college students. So there's a lot of work that it is done here. But today I'm going to focus a little bit more about the Citizenship and Immigration Program, and about the concerns that we have as a nonprofit about this USCIS fee increase. We are deeply concerned with this fee increase because of the consequences this will bring to our community. We actually think this fee increase is unequitable, and it's also unjust, and will only add additional barriers for potential applicants, especially like she mentioned, it's especially for those applying for a green card. This will only increase the time for family reunification because, like she mentioned, there's a lot of people waiting outside the country, and coming up with the amount of money that they will have to pay if this proposed rule goes into effect or it is published. This will just add more time, and maybe not even being able to afford this fees. So the reunification between family members is going to grow a lot more, or even not even happened. And some fees, like maybe the naturalization fee, that we only know that it's only $35, but you know that $35 in a low income folks or even medium income folks, it's a high barrier to really allow us to continue our naturalization process. And it actually prevents a lot of people to go further with the naturalization application. So I think whether we have really high increases like a family-based or employment-based visas, even the low ones will affect when we have folks that are, barely making ends meet to pay bills in the house, to pay mortgages, to pay car payments, to really have these expenses we have in the United States. So I think it's just causing a barrier for folks to really accomplish or to get to the American dream. So this is how I do believe that it will affect our community, especially in the reunification part of all of this.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Maria Elena, I think that you touched on the point that you've touched on is so significant, and it's been so defining of the immigrant rights movement, right? We want to keep families together. We want to make sure that we end deportations, that, we do all of these things. And this was a really common thread in the partnership between Value Our Families and NPNAs, that we've both been fighting for the same thing in our own different lanes. But it made sense, for us to come together on advocacy on this issue for the reasons that you've mentioned. I want to take us into the next question. So we've talked about, for folks listening and joining and tuning in because they were thinking to apply or are in the process of applying, whether that's for a green card or for citizenship. We know that there's a lot of detail and nuance, right, in the fee rule. And we're not going to get into all of that detail, but really want to kind of keep it high level for folks, just to understand kind of how it would impact them. But want to ask this question to Cristina. What is the process for the fee increase to then, from where it is now as a proposal, for it then to take effect? And so what happens after the comment period ends? Right now, it's been introduced, they're collecting comments, and then what happens?
So the deadline right now has been extended, as we've already mentioned, until March 13th to submit comments. Once that passes, then they have to take all of the comments that were submitted into consideration. And, if they need to make any changes, do it at that point. Otherwise, then they will publish the rule. We don't have an exact date, since it also depends on how many comments they receive and how much time it takes them to process all of those comments. And then once they have done all of that, they will publish the rule with an effective date of when it would take effect. The one thing I think that we mentioned is this is a proposal. This is something that was tried back in 2020. They had already talked about increasing fees, and at that point, we were able to stop them increasing fees at that point.
That's right. And I want to emphasize a point, and just the words that you've mentioned right there. We've stopped them before, right? So that's really important for the community to understand, that the reason why we're having this conversation right now and we're not waiting until a ver qué pasa, we'll see what happens if they go into effect or not, is that we have a window of opportunity right now to show as many comments as possible for as many people to explain their situation. This is why these fees increasing would affect, either if you're writing it as an organization, this is how it would affect the community that I serve. If you're writing it as an individual, this is why I would struggle, if these fees go up. So all of those perspectives are important, and really want to take the time right now to emphasize that the deadline has been extended. We have until March 13th at midnight Eastern time. So we're dropping the link in the comments right now. If you have 5 minutes, do this today, do this ASAP. We really are counting on the advocacy of our community members. Like Cristina said, we were able to stop it under the previous administration, and we hope to stop it again this time. Now, I want to keep going, and this is a question that we've gotten from community. So I am a DACA recipient, and my question is, how will the fee increases affect me? So Cristina, I'll turn this over to you. This is a question that we've gotten from folks tuning in.
Like I mentioned earlier, one of the increases is to work permit applications. And so it's currently sitting at $495. That would be increasing to $650. And so that is one of the ways that it would impact DACA recipients, as well as advanced parole applications. Those would be increasing as well. So if DACA recipients were interested in applying for advanced parole, they would be facing a higher fee at that point as well.
Great. And we have another question, and then we'll take it back to some of the other questions from the comments here. The next question, and this is for either of you, how can we write the most effective comment? So if somebody's tuning in, they care about this issue, they want to support, what are your pointers for writing the best possible comment? Cristina, we'll
I
kick
can,
it off with you.
oh,
Marilena.
I can start with that. I think kind of have that prepared. So I kind of went over because even for myself, to how can we be involved in this? How can we write a comment? And it is always important to be as clear as possible, to define what you actually want to write, your objectives. And if you have some data or if anything to support your comment, that would be absolutely great. And if you even sharing your own story, how you personally will be impacted if this will happen to you, like maybe delaying your family reunification, or even if you have children, how this will impact you. And maybe Christina can add a little bit more to that, but just to get you started too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's correct. I think one of the things to remember as you're writing these comments is these comments end up being part of the administrative record. When the government agencies are making these decisions on whether to increase the fee or not, they are required to take these public comments into consideration. And even if we're not able to stop it right now, or well, let's say that they don't take these comments into consideration, those are grounds to be able to invalidate the rule later. Or the comments that you make are also going to be, as I said, taken into the administrative record, and so it'll help if we sue because of these fee increases. So definitely be detailed. Talk about how it personally impacts you or anybody you know or the communities you're serving.
Great. And Cristina, I want to follow up on that thread. We have a question from Diane. Would it help to call the White House to comment on the line?
There is a process, not necessarily. It might your comment might not make it to the right place. So I think it can help, but don't have that be the primary source of the way that you do it. Definitely comment on the link and how we're supposed to, so that we make sure that your comment actually makes it into the record.
Thank you for that. And we have time for one more question. So this is from what I see here in the question, the person is probably from Mexico. So the question is, what if I have my appointment for Juarez coming up already in March? So when somebody would have an appointment in Juarez, somebody that is a Mexican national, this is that they are adjusting status, right? This is the near final step in their journey. So the question is, what should they do if they have the appointment already in March? I think that the question here might be, will I be impacted by these fee increases?
Probably wouldn't be impacted, since at that point, if you already have your appointment, you've already paid all of the fees for these applications. This won't increase the fees for the medical exam or things like that, so you won't be impacted. The only way that I could see somebody being impacted would be if at the interview they request a waiver, and so you have to apply for a waiver. Depending on when this rule change would go into effect, it could impact the cost of that waiver, but that's not the case for most people.
Got it. Thank you. So stay tuned to our social media channels for NPNA, for Value Our Families, for HICA. We will be posting information on the fee increase rule so that you are informed. If it does go up, just what are next steps? We'll keep the community informed here. Before I head to close us out, Marilena, Cristina, any other last words here that you want to leave our the folks tuning in here?
I can start. I would just say we don't, especially for the undocumented community, sometimes we don't have the opportunity to have our voices heard. We can't vote, for example. And so this is one way where you can definitely have your voice heard and have them take your comments into consideration. So definitely consider doing so.
And just to second that, I agree with Christina, and that how she mentioned before, the community has made an impact. We have made change with rallies, we have made change with comments. So really don't get discouraged and try to do that, because we can definitely make a difference or a change with this.
Absolutely. And if I may, we have one more question here. And that is, how can people prepare in the event that the fees for their process do get increased? And I think that you talked about this a little bit about it, Cristina, in that they wouldn't go into effect right away. There's usually a period, before when it's announced and when it goes into effect. So, leaving the question here for either of our panelists.
I would say if you qualify for some benefit and you've been thinking about it, definitely go ahead and apply as soon as possible so that you're not going to be impacted by this. But absolutely also talk to an attorney, because even if the fees do increase and at that point you need to apply for something, there are certain applications that still qualify for a fee waiver. And so talk to somebody to see if that's your situation and you can benefit from that.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. And as I wrap us up here, I want to leave you with some really important reminders. Remember that the deadline to submit a comment to oppose immigration fee processes the fee to go up. We want to oppose these, and the deadline for that has been extended to March 13th by midnight at Eastern time. So we're dropping here in the comments the link that you can follow to leave a comment there. And where do we go from here? I think that, the point that Cristina mentioned, if you are eligible for any immigration benefit, apply now, if you're able to, so that you don't pay the increased fee. But I want to speak in this last minute in particular to folks that are already eligible to naturalize. Across the country, 9.2 million lawful permanent residents are eligible to naturalize today. So imagine a country with 9.2 million new immigrant voters. A million of those are in Texas. So let's just want to give a special shout out. You've made it really far. You've got your green card. Now let's make it to that final step. Let's reach the final step in your immigration journey and join us as part of the campaign to naturalize now. So we have a bunch of resources on our website. And of course, a toolkit if you're an advocate, if you're an organization and you want to be part of this effort and to join the call to action. This is something that we can implement now. We know that natural immigration reform is not happening at the federal level. We see that immigration has unfortunately not been a priority of this administration. So how can we look out for ourselves, our communities, right? If somebody becomes naturalized, they are then eligible to adjust status for many in their nuclear family. So I want to give that call to action and leave you with that hopeful note. And thank you so much to our panelists. Maria Elena from JICA, keep doing the amazing work that you all are doing in Alabama. And Cristina Uribe Reyes, always just such a pleasure. And we are just so proud of you. You come from the immigrant community and just doing such amazing work and supporting so many families. So keep doing the amazing work that you're doing. I want to give you a special congratulations a day early. I know that Women's History Month starts tomorrow, but keep making it, keep trailblazing. So thank you all so much. And we will be posting this live, and hit us up if you have any questions. Thank you all. Bye-bye.